Welcome to Placement Pe Charcha, where we dive into stories, expertise, and insights from the greatest minds shaping the placement industry. I am Khushi Sethi, your current placement secretary.
And I'm Nishit Kashyap, the managing editor of the editorial board of Manipal. Today, our guest is Mr. Avanish Mundhra, and he's the CEO and founder of the Cantilever Labs. If you're planning on acing your interviews, then this is the voice that you want to be listening to.
That's right. Cantilever Labs isn't just another placement partner. It's a force connecting students from top tier colleges such as IITs, BITS, and NITs, and many more to their dream careers. Till date, they've impacted about 1,65,000 plus students from 160 plus colleges, preparing them for domains ranging from software development and AI to finance and consulting.
But that's not all. Mr. Avanish comes from an impressive background as he was the global head of recruitments and training at Futures First. He spearheaded recruitments in India, China, and Kenya, and he has personally affected and trained 8,000 students. And that's a legacy most of us can only hope to achieve.
So today we'll discuss his inspiring journey and discuss various placement strategies that set top tier students apart. Mr. Mundhra, it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's an honor for me also as well.
So let's start with the beginning. Cantilever Labs, as we know, has created a great impact in the placement industry. What inspired you to start this journey, and how did you come up with this unique name, Cantilever Labs?
Okay, so before starting Cantilever Labs, I used to visit a lot of colleges as a guest lecturer and as a recruiter. And because I had that privilege, I would be speaking to a lot of young, ignited minds like yours across the country, not only in terms of the students, but also in terms of the academicians, that how are they shaping the next genre of people for their life, for their career, whatever it is. While all this was happening, one of the top colleges in the country in 2016 invited 25 college heads and 25 corporate heads for a closed door meeting. And the agenda of the meeting was, everybody in the world knows there's a gap between industry and academia. But can you quantify the gap? Because till the time I don't know what that gap is, I don't know what I'm chasing. And for how long do I have to chase? So that closed door discussion went for about 75, 90 minutes. It was aggressive. I would say it was borderline abusive as well. But what conclusion was, the gap is 7 years. And this meeting was in 2016. And the second conclusion was, the way startups are exploding, the way technology is expanding, evolving, this gap will become 13 years, which basically means what is being taught in 2060, what is needed in 2016 will be taught in 2023. Yeah. And the second conclusion was, what is needed in 2016 will be taught in 2029. And that's where the seed of Cantilever Labs was sown in my head. I remember I have a classic story. I was interviewing students on 3rd of December at IIT Bombay, which is where I started writing my resignation letter while the interview process was going on. On 4th, I was IIT Madras. The second page of the letter was written. On 6th of December, I was at IIT Kharagpur, where the letter was signed, envelope was sealed. 8th of December, I came back to office and I tendered my resignation because I wanted to do something in this education space and maybe impact people in a larger number. And that's how I started Cantilever Labs. That is the first part of the question. Second part is why the name. The word cantilever means bridge. It's the earliest form of bridge known to humanity. And what we are doing at Cantilever Labs is, we are bridging colleges and students like you from colleges to corporates. Hence the name Cantilever.
That's a very insightful name.
So you mentioned that the gap between academia and industry requirements is 7 years and will grow to 13 years. What can a student do to understand the requirements of the industry today and take steps towards empowering himself or herself?
See, there are few things which are fundamentally hard-coded in the society, and you have to do that. And there are few things which make a lot of noise. For example, I'm sure if I talk to you about one technology which is making the loudest noise these days, out of 10, maybe 9 students will say AI/ML, or they will say cloud computing, or they will say ChatGPT. And it is driving our world, whether you like it, you don't like it, you know it, or you don't know it. So the way I understand and the way I see, You need to be strong on fundamentals, and you need to have one industry trend picked very well, imbibed in your education system, whether it is college, whether it is placement preparation, so that your candidature is perfect fundamentally also and in the current times also. So for example, if I have to give you a simple case study, coding, you need to have one language very, very thoroughly, whether it is C, C++, Java, Python, completely your perspective. I can tell you where will Java work, where will Python work, but if you have to pick up one language in such a manner that you can do anything and everything in that language. I don't need to chase 4 rabbits, I will just chase one and I'll pick one and I'll catch one. That is one. And second is, you need to have one emerging tech layer in your understanding, in your psyche, in your brain. It is not about building a resume. It's about building your psyche, which eventually will get reflected in your resume, which will be seen, which will be spotted, which will be picked by some of the top companies out there. So one is be fundamentally strong, and second, have one emerging tech layer, because there is no escape. You have to do it.
So having worked so closely with students as well as corporate, what are a few placement trends that you feel you are noticing for the upcoming year of 2025, and what are certain skills or trends that students should take note of in order to go on board?
Okay, so before 2018, I was on the other side of the table. I was judging students. After 2018, I'm on the other side of the students. Now they are my team. I'm one of their team members. I will not call myself a captain. I don't want to be one, but I'm one of the team members along with all my students, and I'm preparing them. From judging them to preparing them, the journey has been rather interesting. And while I was on the other side of the table, I made quite a lot of friends who still are great friends with me. We play together, we sing together, maybe we drink together. And I discuss, I understand that what is the industry doing, where is the industry shaping. If I have to give you a list of what are the top things that industry is looking for in a student, it is not tech, it is not communication, it is not grades, it is not your team working ability, it is not adaptability, whatever it is. The first is called problem solving skills. Problem solving skills is as good as, can I write a code, can I build a table, can I design a car, can I solve a case study, can I prepare an Excel sheet, can I draw some data can I draw some conclusion from a set of data that is given to you. So problem solving skills is very common. I'm sure since morning you must have solved 3 problems. I have been working for 4 hours, I solved 7 problems. So problem solving skill is the topmost skill that is needed. Eventually, that skill takes a different form. In a consulting, I should be able to solve a problem. A classic example, for example, what is the revenue of, say, Hyderabad airport in 2024? Who cares? Maybe some people do, but as a student, I don't. But again, I'm not concerned about knowing the number. I'm concerned about the approach by which you arrive at that number. The number might be wrong, but the approach is very right. So problem solving skill is skill number 1 that one should have an understanding. A lot of time it is said that we don't know coding or we don't know DSA. Technically, innately, intrinsically, it is problem solving with a different language or with a different ability, but innately it is problem solving. The moment you are a problem solver, you are absolutely gold. But if the problem solving is not there, you think that you are gold. I believe that's brass. It is not gold.
Okay. Sir, what do you think are the most important skills that matter the most for a student sitting in placement?
If I give you skills, for example, if I give you a skill that you should be great at DSA, you should be great at problem solving, it won't do any it won't do any good. You already know the answer. You don't need to be sitting on this chair and have all these things done. But I try to quantify a resume from a student's perspective and from a recruiter's perspective. For example, before coming for this podcast, I was anticipating what questions you will ask me. And I was doing a role play while I was in the car, that what should I be answering, what kind of answer should I give, because these are the questions I'll be fielding. So I'll try to quantify what a resume should look like. Think of it, a 21-year-old is coming to your interview room and you are a recruiter. And you have his or her resume in your hand. What is the most interesting part, or what is the most interesting part you think will be in the resume? College is there, no problem. Grades are there, no problem. It is the projects and internship that ends up attracting the bulk of the questions. So if I have to create a heat map of your resume, your projects, internship, and after COVID, your certifications have become the most interesting part. Because academically, no one will do a dipstick. You did an engineering, say in electronics and communication, C did in IT, someone else did in mechanical. I will not get inside the subjects. But the projects I can read, the internships I can read, the certifications I can read because you have printed them on your resume, and which is where all my bulk of questions will come. If you have to create a heat map for your resume, have 2 to 3 good projects in which one project should be an emerging layer. That will bring some variation. Internship, a lot of time people say that I have got one internship, which is also very, very difficult. But if you open the entire engineering life of yours, I think you will have 2 summers and 2 winters. In fact, I think you'll have 3 summers and 2 winters across 4 years. In those 3 summers plus 2 winters, 5, if you can do 3, you are going to take off right after your career. You can use 3 of those 5 as far as internship is concerned. So I'm going to take a case study that let's take 3 internship. As it is, getting internship is very, very difficult. So you might say, sir, my 1 internship is not coming. You're talking about 3 internships. So I'll tell you what to do for that. The 3 internship that I'm talking about, get 1 internship in a startup. It could be any startup. And you say, sir, what should be the role? Who cares about the role? You introduced me as a founder of Cantilever Labs. I'm also a founder. I'm also a receptionist. Sometimes I behave as an investor. Sometimes I behave as a product manager. I also sit with my operations team. I also discuss with my HR team. And I've got amazing people in all these departments. But I still have to put my head into it. In 9 weeks or 10 weeks that you spend in a startup, be everywhere. And you'll say that I'm all over the place. And that's the best part. So one internship could be in a startup. It could be any startup. It need not be that it has to be the best startup of the world. Because even the best company of the world were a startup at one point of time. So 3 internship, 1 could be in a startup. 1 internship, if possible, do in a big company. Paid, unpaid, I'm not getting into that conversation. That is completely your prerogative. But if I'm a student, at the age of 21, money would be the last thing in my mind. Unfortunately, money is the first thing in the mind right now. But if you take your life, and in a broader perspective, you will feel that some decision that you did not take, thinking about money, were actually wrong decision. Internship, you should not do it. So out of the 3 internship that I'm talking about, 1 internship could be in a startup, 1 could be in a relatively bigger organization, mid-size, big size you can do. And 3rd internship that I'm talking about, it could be in a social service sector. It could be in an NGO. It could be in any sector that is giving back to the society. It is not only about being socially responsible, but it's also learning about that thing. Our life has become very, very transactional. You are doing this podcast with something in your mind. I'm sitting in this podcast with something in my mind. And both of us are trying to be on 2 sides of the transaction. Spend 4 weeks over there. It will shape something in your mind. It will shape something in your psyche. And it will reflect very well on your resume. So I've given you 3 options. I'm giving you 1 more options. I'm sure all of us are coming from different parts of the country. There is state government, there is central government, there is local body. Do something in the government. And I can give you a guarantee. Today, if you search from your respective town, respective city, respective state, and maybe nationally, you will find, if not less, 1,000 internship opportunities. Some of the best candidates that I've seen are doing very, very good in their life, had this kind of diversity in their resume. They had a startup experience, they had a social service / NGO experience, they had a government body experience, and they had their own core company, whatever experience, and now think of the resume, looks fantastic. So on project side, I said 2 things. 1, a project in your core subject, another project in emerging layer. For internship, I said whatever I had to say. Certification, doing random certification from great brands are great, but it doesn't really add any value. Have 1 certification if possible. If possible. If not possible, no problem. If you have done all these things, certifications are immaterial. If this is done, great. This is on the academic side. I'm creating a heat map for the resume, as I said, because you asked me for skills. Instead of giving you skills, I'm telling you ways to achieve those skills. On the other side, you are a part of MIT Manipal. You are the MD of the editorial board. She is the placement secretary. Most of the engineering colleges have got many departments like FEST, like placements, like editorial board, like clubs, like activities. Be part of 1, be part of 2, be part of 3. If you join any company, if I ask you a simple question, for example, what's your dream company? Anyone?
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA. Same, NVIDIA. What will you do at NVIDIA? For example, NVIDIA recruits you for a coding role. So if I ask you what will you doing at NVIDIA, your answer will be coding. No. If NVIDIA is making you work 10 hours in a day, maximum you are coding for 6 hours, not beyond that. Humanly, it is not possible to do beyond that. So what are you doing in the other 4 hours? In the other 4 hours, you are part of the culture of the company called NVIDIA. If I ask you what do you like about NVIDIA, I think the answer will be culture. And what is that culture? That culture is not only working. That culture is what the team brings. The other side of the work, the other side of business in which you are really not coding but doing something else. Your position of responsibility, the extra activities that you do in your college reflects that side. The 4 hours of every day are visible over there. Pick up one responsibility. It could be anything. It could be simple internship coordinator, placement coordinator, fest coordinator, club, activity, dance, music, singing, dancing, I don't know, whatever it is. Put that in your resume. Your resume is getting complete now. So I spoke about internship, I spoke about project, I spoke about certification from a meaningful place, and then I spoke about position of responsibilities. And all these things should happen not at the cost of academics. If you can maintain a CPI/CGPA, whatever you call it, of 8, 8.5 and above, fantastic. NVIDIA will pick up.
Right, sir. That was a very excellent insight. Sir, I had a question to ask based on your insight right now that as you said that students should work at 4 places, one being startup, one being a big corporate, one being an NGO, and one being probably a government setup, right? So I wanted to ask a question that most of us have, that what is the difference, like how is it different to work in a startup? What is it, what does it teach you differently versus working in a big corporate?
Okay.
As
You are studying in MIT. Any friend of yours studying in any other college? Which colleges? Give me a name of any other college.
BITS Goa.
BITS Goa.
BITS Goa,
Forget BITS Goa. Give me another college.
IIT Delhi.
IIT Delhi.
NIT.
Okay. Are you in good touch with them? What are they doing at IIT Delhi/BITS Goa/NIT versus what you're doing at MIT Manipal? Is it different?
Yes, definitely.
In many aspects, not only in terms of academics, but also outside academics, right? I'm not saying they are doing good or you are doing bad. I'm not saying you are doing good or they are doing bad. But you know it, I know it, we know it, that all of you guys are doing something very, very different. In a big corporate, what happens is you become small part of a big team. In a startup, you become small part of a small team. That team is growing. And if you're growing with a growing team, your growth is also comprehensive by nature. I remember when I was doing my internship was 7 days in a week. It was 11, 12, 13 hours in a day. And I learned so much in my internship that I can't tell. When I said 7 days in a week, you had a smile on your face. Unimaginable, na, these days. But if I tell you that we are going for a trek for 7 days, you guys will start right now. But 7 days on internship is unimaginable. But I know what that internship did to me. And I'm probably sitting here, I'm hoping I'm doing something good in my life, and that's why I'm sitting on this chair. But I know whatever I am today, one of the important foundation stone for that is that internship that I did. Sundays I used to be sitting alone, sitting in the cafeteria. AC is also off. Forget about anything else. AC is also, but I'm sitting there and it's a summer, it's peak summer. But that is how it is. So I think in a startup, you will be everywhere. Your growth will be very, very good. In a big company, you will be part of a very organized structure. There are ways by people are working, the jobs are delegated, the responsibilities are relegated, the departments are very well beautifully assigned. In startup, it's very noisy. It's very noisy. And I genuinely feel that if you want to enjoy music, you should love piano, which is sonorous, but you should also love the acoustic guitar, which sometimes becomes loud and blaring, but they complete music, they complete orchestra.
That's a good answer, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. So my next question is for people who are in core fields like easy, mechanical, industrial, etc., but want to transition to a software role while juggling their already highly technical courses in college. What would be your roadmap to success for those students?
Okay, let's talk about software role first. Software role typically, if I double tick on that, can be distributed on two sides considering the placement landscape of the country. One is a service industry, one is a product development industry. So there are set of companies for both the industries. I will be not talking about companies because if I talk about one company, they're also building product. If I talk about one company, they're also doing service. So I will not be segregating the companies. Typically, it has been seen, if I have to talk about compensation pattern, product development companies tend to attract higher talents and they give higher compensation. Not saying service industry is not attracting higher talents, but product development companies are tougher placements to crack. They tend to attract higher talents and accordingly they give compensation. If you are a non-CSE, non-IT student, you should be very clear where you want. You cannot plan this and you cannot think that in third year, second semester, you will make the planning and now you will get on with the preparation. I will not say it is impossible, but I think placement is a game not of possibility, it's a game of probability. Placement is pure maths and that is the reason I'm in this industry because it's maths. As long as it's maths, I can crack it. If it's a game of possibility, forget it. I cannot crack it. I think no one can crack it. In 3-2, the odds are against you, third year, second semester, because you don't have more than 4-5 months to really prepare. So first, you need to wake up early. And I'm guessing second year, second semester, worst case, first day of third year, first semester is a good time to wake up. That is number one. Number two is, I have normally seen, again, I can only speak by my experience because I genuinely feel I'm not a very intelligent person, but I'm a very alert person and I see what students are doing and what result it's giving them. Non-CSE, non-IT people typically pick up 2 computer languages. It could be C and C++, whatever it is, but the main language is Python. CSE IT people will pick up Java. Product development companies will only ask for Java. Service company will ask for Python. And Python is a language that is easy to learn. So pick up a language, that is number one. Which language, when you are picking up, I have told you 3-1. What you are picking up, I have told you, which is Python or Java. Product development Java, here Python. Now, for getting shortlisted or for even being in the reckoning list that, okay, he or she is a mechanical student, but is thinking of a product company, I need your resumes to be shortlisted. You have picked up Java, but I will get to know only after you enter my interview room. And you will enter my interview room after your resume has been shortlisted, in which I am an expert of Java, you will not write. But what will the resume, what is resume needed for it to be, what does the resume need for it to be shortlisted? I spoke about projects. You need to have 2 very, very good projects. Again, we have a trend of you getting project from your senior, that senior getting project from his or her senior. It's a legacy which is coming from 4-5 years. And that will not work. Because very frankly, the one who's sitting on the other side of the table is also out from a similar system and also had seniors and also saw the trickling of projects coming from batches to batches. So you have to be very honest about it because we are in the world where these things cannot slip through the cracks any further. There is tech, there is AI, it's a dinosaur which is right behind you, you don't know. It's a monkey on your back, you don't know. It will hurt you when it hurts the most. So you need to have good solid projects. For that, clearing should be there. And you can learn Java, no problem, but you need to have one good certification. What I'm trying to create here is the odds are against you. So how can you work against the odds? These are the only 2 things by which I can actually at least be in the reckoning list of that company. Ek acha project or ek acha certification. And by acha certification, I mean a very, very acha certification because certification is very common. Everybody is having one. So these are the 2 things that you can do. CPI agar acha hai, agar acha nahi hai, to it will definitely work against you. CPI needs to be top notch. There's no doubt about it.
So now, as we know, there's a lot of things that are phasing out of our current market, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that are future trends or current trends that have just come into the market, right? So AI becoming one of the most important ones now, which we assume wasn't present during your time. So how does Cantilever Labs help students in, keeping them up to date with the current market trends?
Okay, you said AI is becoming one of the important trends.
Yes.
I'll just rectify. AI has already become.
Yes, yes.
It's already there, and it's a beautiful world to be in, and you don't have to have a choice but to say it like that, because this is what it is, and it will only get better and better and more beautiful from here. At Cantilever Labs, we are in an industry called EdTech for the world. I genuinely believe when I started Cantilever Labs that in the word EdTech, ed is more important than tech. Education is more important than tech. Because if I cannot teach you C or Java or Python, how on earth can I expect you to learn AI? It is stupid on my part to even think like that. So the first 7 years, 6 years of our time at Cantilever Labs, we were focusing on education, and I think that focus of ours will not go anywhere for as long as we are there in this world. Because education is there and will always be there, whether I am there or not, but education will always be there. So that is there. But last 1.5 years, we have invested a lot of time, resource, energy, you can say money, unfortunately is there in the list, but on also building a nice tech that students need. For example, you spoke about NVIDIA, and say your college is collaborated with Cantilever Labs, and we do the training and we finish the training by 20th of July. NVIDIA is coming on 30th of July. Our training is over, but you need some help with NVIDIA. And after NVIDIA, let's say Amazon is coming, after that JP Morgan is coming, after that Intel is coming, after that TCS is coming, and you will be sitting for, I'm hoping, believing, praying that you guys crack NVIDIA on day one. But all of us know that will not happen. Some people will go to Microsoft, some people will go to Amazon, some people will go to JP Morgan, and you will be needing more and more help and support for every single company which is coming. The tech that we have built is that you put the name of the company, you put the date of your test, and you get going. It will create your entire track. If you go for NVIDIA, they'll ask for 3 things. Great resume, you have to clear your test, and you have to clear all their interviews. This technology only does that. You put the name of the company, you put the date, you press enter. It gives you one test on that moment that if NVIDIA had come today, where are you? This test is basically a conglomeration of all questions that are asked by NVIDIA in last 5 years. You give the test, it gives you a score that, okay, your score is this. Khushi, you have 10 days. With this score, this is the prep track that you need. So get on with it. So that prep track will have, mock test. It will have your resume, Christine designed, created for NVIDIA, knowing what NVIDIA looks for. We'll give you mock interviews, which is NVIDIA specific, so that 5 din, 10 din before you and NVIDIA, you are rock solid. So that is one thing that we are doing. We are focusing a lot on harping, on telling students that you need one emerging tech. Every program that we do, whether it is C, C++, Java, Python, DBMS, is project driven. It is project backed. Emerging tech, AI, ML, cloud, Salesforce, cybersecurity, IoT, robotics, you have full stack development, MERN stack development. You have to build projects, sometimes multiple projects. It does 2 things. It gives you a great hands-on understanding of that technology, and that eventually the project sits very pretty on your resume. And I am telling you, as I started in one of my answers, as a 21-year-old, 80% of my questions will be centered around projects and internship, which you have built with your bare hands. So by all probabilities, it's a home game, and you'll be playing in the front foot, and you will kill it. So these are some things that we are doing. I try to quantify it, I try to objectify everything that I do, and then we go ahead with it in Cantilever Labs.
So in an age where the edtech industry is already very saturated, you managed to make a name for your company and established yourself as a big player. What do you think you did that other companies aren't doing?
Okay, edtech industry is saturated. I really don't, I can say very big things sitting here, but I don't really know what this edtech industry is all about that you spoke about. Big player, I don't think, I don't know the definition of big player. I was in a presentation in one of the edtech conclaves. They invited me, and before me, one of the companies presented that they are first in the world, and they are India's #1. And that was the last slide, and it was, wow, what a statement to make. First in the world and India's #1, it's like a big statement to make. So I just changed one slide in my presentation. And my presentation ka last slide was, I don't want to be India's number one. I want to be your number one. If I'm your number one, I'm happy with that. And if I am number one of all the 50 colleges here, that will make me India's number one. So I'm so far not India's number one. There will be companies before me. There are companies with me. There will be companies after me. I just want to be your number one. So few things that we do is we build Cantilever Labs with a simple philosophy: under commit, over deliver. I'll be very clear. When I came to Manipal, this was not planned, but we did it. And I hope you guys are enjoying, because I'm having a good time here. So we under commit, we over deliver. We understand what students need, and we go out of our way. When I started Cantilever Labs, someone asked me, I was having a very good sorted life in my previous company, but someone asked me, and unfortunately, money is a stupid, but unfortunately the only barometer to measure human success. So someone asked me, do you earn well as you were earlier? I said, I'm not sure about earning, but I'm sleeping very well. That's very important for me. So whichever part of the world I go in, my students are there, people who have been touched, trained, probably helped by Cantilever Labs, and that is what keeps me going. I was having food in the cafeteria, 10 people came and sat on my table who attended my session, and somehow they liked the session and it connected with them. So I try to keep it very normal. I try to be in your shoes as a student, what I need, and then I go about it. And now we are building a full tech layer around it, that even where I or Cantilever Labs is not physically present, the technology will reach there. So some stupid thing that I'm doing, still not in the big player league, and I'm better off not in that league.
Right. So, sir, now we'll be jumping into a fun and creative rapid fire round in which we will ask you questions and you could bless us with short answers.
I'm nervous in this interview because I understand rapid fire round. It's only the person who's asking questions has all the fun. So you can start.
So what's the best advice that you've received in your career?
One of my team members said that I have an amazing eye, attention to detail. I have too good. But unfortunately, sometimes it kills my time. In fact, before entering this session, I was since morning making a presentation, and one slide took 45 minutes. I allotted 1 hour to make the entire presentation. One slide took 45 minutes, and I wrote one of my team members, my creativity kills my time, but my team said it's the creativity which will build our time. So that's a thin tightrope walk I need to do about attention to details versus time management. I'm bad at that.
Sir, what's one of the weirdest placement interview questions that you've come across?
Haha. In fact, this is also there in my interview workshop that I do. So typically what happens is when a recruiter is taking an interview, let's say for example, you said NVIDIA, let's talk about NVIDIA. NVIDIA is taking interview for both of you. You are interviewed first and she's interviewed later. So the moment your interviews are done, you'll come out and tell her all the questions. It's a very standard practice. Everybody does that. I also did. You were also doing that. So now she's prepared for those answers. So it happened that in my previous company was into finance, and we'll focus a lot on maths. And my interviews were good interviews. In fact, people will tell their placement team that I want to enter his interview room, because my interviews will be stressful, but I'll show you the mirror. It's the biggest judge. You like it or you don't like it, what you see in the mirror, that's a different story, but I'll show you the mirror. So I remember that I was asking students that, one of the student I asked, what's the square of 63? I'm just giving you, I don't remember the number, I'm just giving you an understanding. The square of 63. He did not have the answer. When the next kid came in, I asked, what's the square of 48? Bola, sir, 63 ka pata hai. So that really cracked me up, ki wow, yeah. And one of the interviews where I was taking, and shortest interview that I've taken, I said I saw the profile. The profile was amazing, and I'm into world of finance. For finance is the movers and shakers of the world. Everybody in the world wants to be in a trading role, sales and trading role, and I was recruiting for that role. Had a fantastic core profile, yet want to be in finance. I said, why are you doing this? Great internship, great CPI, great projects. Looks like you have an admit in a great college for your MS and everything, yet you want to be in finance. He gave me an answer that will stay with me forever. He said, if I don't take risk at the age of 21, then will I take the risk? And if you guys understand, cost of failure at 21 is way less than the cost of failure at 25. He said, I'm going for it. He went for it, and one of the biggest traders I know in the world right now. So these are two things that came to my mind.
If you did not know a student at all or their preparation and you saw them outside the interview room 2 minutes before the interview and he asked you for advice, what could you give him?
Breathe from your nose. It's a very underrated thing. Believe me, our body, it's a marvel given to us by God, and it's pure science. When you breathe from your nose, your heart functions right, your brain functions right. I play tennis, and there are tournaments in which I'm anxious, and I start breathing from my mouth, and my body is not functioning or not responding to those breathe. It's very, very important to breathe from your nose. I'm sorry, it's very boring answer, but believe me, there's an amazing science. The moment oxygen goes to the brain, hopefully you have one, and it goes to the heart. I'm sure you have one because you're standing in front of me. But the moment it goes, it starts functioning. And inside, it's very tough. It's not very easy in an interview room. Because you have told me only 2 minutes, so I will not talk anything outside before that 2 minutes. But inside, don't be in a hurry. They are looking for right answers, not quick answers. Take your time. Have 2 pencils, have 2 pens and 2 papers. If you're carrying 1 pen, I can give you a guarantee that pen will stop working. That pen is more nervous than you are inside the interview room. So carry 2 pens, write. If they are asking you a question, write it down. If I see a person writing in front of me with a pen and paper, I'm already impressed. Because every day now people are swiping, typing, and no one is writing. Breathe, carry 2 papers and 2 pen, write. And it's absolutely fine inside an interview room if you did not understand the question or you want to double tick on the question, so you can question back. Okay, sir, can you give me a little more understanding about this question? I can give you a guarantee. Most of the interviewers out there are there to help you and recruit you. So they will come for your rescue. But it's absolutely fine to seek help. And fourth, as I said earlier, English, it's not an English speaking contest. So if you have bad English, which I believe is a national problem, I also have that. But if you have bad English, that will not hurt you. Thinking that your communication is bad, that will hurt you.
Right. Sir also gave us the same advice right before this podcast started. That being, breathe from your nose and take your time. So that is excellent advice, sir, because it really helped us with going forward with the podcast in a very efficient way. Right. So the next question is a skill that you think is highly underrated but highly impactful as well.
Problem solving, one way or the other. I'm sure, uh, you will come across if I have to objectify your interview, say it's a 30 minutes interview, I will allocate around 2 minutes per question. I'm asking you 15 questions. Out of those 15 questions, I'm guessing 5 questions will be on tech. So 10 are probably borderline tech or non-tech. So I'm just objectifying कि मेरा heat map interviews का क्या है. 5 tech के question है, I'm guessing इनमें से 2 I can answer. Or 3, on a good day 3 I will be able to answer. Let's talk about the other 10. But all the 15 questions, I can give you a guarantee. Out of those 15, 10 are probably a problem solving question. For example, recently a friend of mine said that his son was asked, what will you do if you are given $1 million? Having that question or having that $1 million is also a problem. If I have a pen and paper, I'll be able to write it down very clearly rather than just giving words to fill the air and to give the question. So have problem solving and have a written approach. If they give you a puzzle, if you write down that puzzle, not word by word, but in some form, while writing down, your brain has already solved the puzzle. But if you try to solve the puzzle mentally and you give an answer in air, your brain will bungle up and you'll end up giving a wrong answer. So one is problem solving and second is a written approach. 2 pieces of paper and 2 pen are your ammunitions. एक bazooka है and दूसरा hand grenade.
So, say that you've gotten the resume shortlisted and you're sitting in the interview room. What's the fastest way to mess up your interview?
Get up and slap. Fastest way to mess up, again, your opening question is probably already decided. What do you know? What will be the opening question of your interview?
Tell me something about yourself.
All of us know that. Why do the interviewers ask that question, do you know? I'll take you inside an interview room. An interviewer is sitting in front of you. He or she has a resume in your hand. They are scanning through the resume. But at that point of time, they cannot be silent. So they have already given you a question. While you are answering, they are semi-listening and semi-reading. But looks like interview has started. When you already know that is the opening question, you cannot go wrong there. So in my interview workshop, I give a lot of frameworks on, not only answering this question, but this category of question, which is, for example, where do you see 5 years down the line? If I give you $1 million, what will you do? These questions don't have a right answer or a wrong answer. They have a good answer and a bad answer. Right, wrong can be defined, but good, bad cannot be defined. For you, this podcast is a good podcast. For her, this podcast is a bad podcast. Because it's her taste, it's her liking, it's your taste, it's your liking. So how do you define good, bad? And in this scenario, you have no idea what's the liking for that interviewer. So what do you do? So those are the frameworks that we do in this. But there are few things that you don't go wrong on. Again, as I say that we objectify everything. I cannot tell you that be confident, speak yourself, have a positive attitude, and smile a little. ये तुम्हें पता है, ये ज्ञान है मुझे. You don't need me for this. Confident रहूँ कैसे? Attitude दिखाऊँ कैसे? Sir, अंदर it's crazy. I'm wearing blazer suit and I'm already sweating. On top of that, these clothes are there, and he is asking me or she is asking me questions I have no idea of. I try to create a heat map. 30 minutes का interview है. Your entry, your middle phase, and your end phase. In fact, I explain it with cricket. Power play, middle overs, and slog overs. If you understand cricket, cricket matches are won or lost in power play and slog overs. Middle overs में क्या होता है ना मुझे पता है, and more often than not interest भी नहीं है. अगर कोई ODI चल भी रहा है, we will probably see the first 5 overs and last 5 overs. We will not see the mid 40 by all probabilities. That's how it is. Interview भी वही होता है. At the end of the day, interviewer will remember your first 5 minutes and your last 5 minutes. Beach ka 20 minute will be hazy, foggy, not very well remembered at the end of the day. So be very strong on those two fronts. Your entry, your opening question, your exit and your exit question. That should be very, very strong. In between, things will be here and there, give and take, does not matter.
Another rapid fire question. What's the easiest and quickest way to impress a recruiter?
Have a great opening question, great opening answer, and have a fantastic exit. How do I have a fantastic exit? It's one of the frameworks that I give in my interview workshop. By the time your interview is over, again, I want you to understand, in your campus placement, a recruiter will, if a team of 5 people are coming, every person will end up taking 20 to 25 interviews. If there are in total 100, 125 interviews are taken. A recruiter doesn't make a decision right after you have left the interview room that, okay, Khushi is selected, Nishit is rejected, or vice versa. They will make a decision. They'll take all 100, 125 interviews. After that, all the 5 recruiters will enter in a room. And now they will decide, okay, this is my stack of resumes. I think I like her, I don't like him, I like him, I don't like her, whatever it is. But think of it, after 8 hours and 100 odd interviews, I have to remember you. If I don't remember you, you are as it is rejected. There is no question that you will be selected. And if I'll remember you, only when you have impressed me. And how will you impress? Your opening I'll remember, your exit I'll remember. Now, what happens in exit? An interviewer will ask you, do you have a question? More often than not, people say no. I say, उसने 20 पूछा है, तुम एक तो पूछो. He or she asks you 20 questions, you ask at least one question. So they'll say, okay, we'll ask. Now, what will you ask? More often than not. For example, if I have to ask you, if NVIDIA ka interview ho gaya, and if I am the recruiter, I ask you, do you have any questions? What question will you ask me? If you have to give me one question right now, what will you ask me?
Will I be selected?
Exactly. They'll ask, will I be selected? Or they'll ask her, how was my interview? I'll give you an answer. Oh, you were fantastic. Believe me, Khushi brought a Khushi in my face. But I'll bring Khushi in Khushi's face only if I'm selecting you. This question ka answer that I gave is a mere lip service. My role here is to select Khushi, not to make her happy. Because selection will make her happy, my comments will not make her happy. asking this question, can you give a feedback or how was it, how was my interview, is a question which is not worthy of asking. So you should ask better questions. And one question that will really impress or two questions that will really impress is what you should ask कि मैं जब शाम को याद करूँगा कि of the 100 candidates, oh, she asked me what a question while exiting. Now the biggest question is, sir, what is that question जो मैं पूछूँ?
I was going to ask.
I can talk about it right now, but we don't have the time for it. And which is what I discuss in my interview workshop, the different frameworks. I give frameworks for entry, I give frameworks for middle, and I give frameworks for exit. If you follow this framework, NVIDIA will bring Khushi on Khushi's face.
So what is one book that every founder or student should have read?
Very difficult to say. It's like you are asking me what's your favorite song. I love music, but how do I ask a favorite song? But one book that I normally gift to all the people that I meet. Fortunately, I'm not carrying one, but I've gifted you guys also. I love a book. It's written by Khalil Gibran. It's called The Prophet. But I give it to all the VCs and chairmen and educationists that I meet. I really love the book. The good part about the book is I can open it from any page and I can still enjoy reading it. So that is one book which is very good. And the second one is called Harry Potter.
So a final message to students, if there's any message that you'd like to give us.
Okay, it's very important to have fun, very, very important. But in the process of having fun, don't forget other things. Enjoy life because that's what we are here for. Preparation is a key. Don't underestimate preparation. Anybody and everybody needs preparation. I play a lot of tennis. The best players of the world, call it Roger Federer or Djokovic or Nadal, they had 5-6 coaches. Why? They had a coach for service, they had a coach for forehand, they had a coach for backhand. Who will teach Roger Federer, the best backhand ever on earth, but he has a coach for that? Roger Federer had a coach for backhand, but Roger Federer himself has the best backhand in the world. But why does he have a coach? Sometimes you need a coach to teach you backhand, and sometimes and get you on top of the world, and sometimes you need a coach to make you stay on top of the world. You can understand what is needed. So don't underestimate preparation, whether it is on your own or with somebody else. Prepare well and have fun. Whatever you do, do with a smile, because anything in the world can be solved if you have a good smile on your face. And otherwise, take good care of yourself and yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for taking out valuable time from your day. And thank you for putting up with all the cuts that you guys are not seeing. And thank you for the tip. I will definitely try to breathe through my nose.
So to all our viewers, thank you for joining us. We hope this episode left you with really good takeaways. And until next time.
Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe.